Welcome to this week's episode of Coffee with the Journalist, brought to you by One Pitch. The guests on our show include some of the most notable journalists from the top US-based publications who cover topics including technology, lifestyle and culture, health, science, consumer products, and business news. We discuss their role, the types of stories they cover, what their inbox looks like, and how they connect with sources. Our guest on the show today is Scott Nover, an emerging industries reporter for Quartz, where he writes about the internet and emerging technology. Prior to Quartz, Scott was a platforms reporter for Adweek. In 2019, he was named a finalist for the Bart Richards Award for media criticism for his reporting at The Atlantic. And he also founded and served as the first editor-in-chief of MediaFile, a student-run media criticism website. During the show, Scott shares specifics about his beat and coverage, his approach to working with sources, how he takes pride in his written work, and more. Let's dive into the interview now.
Welcome, everyone. This is Coffee with the Journalist. I'm Beck Bamberger, founder of One Pitch, also of BAM, an agency that represents all venture-backed technology companies. And today, very exciting, coming from Quartz, which is an outlet I love. I can't wait to talk to you, Scott, although I know we've been talking a little bit already. But Scott Nover, he's an emerging industries reporter at Quartz, based in Michigan, was named a finalist for the Bart Richards Award for media criticism in 2019 for his reporting at The Atlantic. And I know, Scott, you're going to be talking about a story that you love from The Atlantic, which I love. You've also founded and served as the first editor-in-chief of MediaFile, which is a student-ran media criticism website. I want to talk more about that, but welcome and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So tell us real quick here, emerging industries.
Yeah, it's very vague.
It
very
is.
Vague.
Do tell.
Sure. So basically, I write about the internet and I write about interesting business stories on the internet. And that has a lot to do with social media and people getting famous online and making money online and things like that. So any weird kind of internet stories you've heard of in the last, 6 months, I've probably had some sort of piece on NFTs, meme stocks, influencers, things like that. That's kind of my niche.
Got it. With everything of the internet, which is such a rabbit hole, I imagine what attracts you and what's interesting from a pitch perspective changes week by week, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just my work is different every single week. This week, I am writing about pornography and I'm writing about fantasy football. So
totally the same thing.
Exactly. And in the, other weeks, I'm writing about AMC and GameStop or about college athletes or just, there are so many things on the internet, Beck, and I try to do something to serve everyone,
So with that, do you ever unplug?
Not really. I mean, I try to, but no, I think my phone's on me most of the time, but I'm not I tweet a lot, but I'm not tweeting every 5 seconds and every thought. So, and I've tried to scale back. I try to be a little bit healthier about it, but it's hard when that's your job is to be online and pay attention.
And to report on the internet in actuality. Yeah. It's not like you're in supply chain manufacturing.
No, I wish. It's a great time to be in supply chain manufacturing.
Oh, it is. That's a whole other area of interest. But tell us about your inbox. Is it obscene with pitches or what?
It's a mess.
Yeah.
It is really a mess. I used to think I was very on top of my inbox. And as I just started this job a few months ago. I was at Adweek before this and just moved over to Quartz in May. And even right when I started, I tried to be very organized about my inbox. I'm like an inbox zero person. I read every email or at least click on it. But in the past, I've been good about keeping organized, and my inbox is just a mess. No one knows what I write about. And for the most part, I don't even know how to explain what I write about.
Yeah.
So it's just there's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah. How many are you getting, would you say, a week? Pitches?
I'm looking at my work email and I get some pitches to a personal email or a secure email. And there's a full page of emails just from today.
Oh my.
So that's 50. Let's see.
Okay. Oh God.
We're
talking just today.
75 just today. Just in one email address.
Do you have multiple email addresses?
I have a personal email and I have
okay.
like a Proton Mail, like secure account.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yeah, but I like people to pitch me in my like work email, but things find their way to me wherever I am.
Well, what makes you open a pitch, especially if you're getting 75 in a day? Is it subject line? Do you try to do what you were mentioning earlier? You want to try to get it open at least and then, quickly go by it or what?
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely like something has to raise my eyebrows and it has to be something that's not just like interesting, but something I would write about. Yeah. And it's hard. I get it. It's hard as a comms pro to know. And it's hard for me to explain what I write about. But like, for example, there's just a million NFT pitches in my inbox. And while I've written about non-fungible tokens in the past, I'm also not writing about every single celebrity who has released some sort of crypto project. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the pitches that are successful are ones that bring something to my attention that I wasn't thinking about, or they provide some sort of access to an interesting person, or they have a interesting website that I might not be aware of, and they just want to like set up a introductory call with a CEO or something. And, so I feel like that's kind of what breaks through.
Okay. I'm not jealous of your multiple inboxes, to say the least. What makes you write a story? Does it ever come from a pitch, or are you going on like your daily walk and you go, I really want to do a story on South Korea passing the first law for free app creators? I saw that as a story. What do you do? Is there something that strikes you?
Yes, but there are pitches that turn into stories, but they're probably few and far between. And I think there's a lot of times when news breaks, and what I'm trying to do as a journalist who works for kind of like an online magazine is to find an interesting angle or an interesting way into a story. And what that requires is, some sort of insight or some sort of, unique spin on it. And that comes from following a story for a long time, but it also comes from talking to people and building relationships and having access to, smart people. So I think like, that's why I say, sometimes those emails that are like, you should talk to my founder, my CEO, or this really smart guy that is on our staff, those can be most helpful because when I'm thinking about, some sort of topic and I think of that person, it's just an easier call, to make because the ice has kind of been broken and I know that person can say something smart about it.
Do you ever then keep those sources just in your inbox and just like do your own Google inside your inbox to find them?
Yeah, sometimes I definitely search in my inbox if there's something, if there's a term that is coming up, and that's an easy way to do that. I can say, who's pitched me about, God, this is a terrible example, but NFTs, I can search for NFTs. Yeah. I mean, there'll be thousands of pitches, but something more specific, maybe the word is antitrust, and there's a new, government investigation into a tech company, and there's only so many people that have pitched me on antitrust stories before, and there's law firms and there's former government people or something,
Yeah.
And so sometimes that can be really helpful. So I think there are some times when a pitch will go unanswered from me, and then later I'll be like, oh, this is actually perfect. I missed this, but I found it in my search.
Okay. It's very common. Now that I've chatted with dozens and dozens, that internal little search from all your pitches is like the thing. I was laughing on one episode we were talking about, God, maybe people should put like keywords on the bottom of their pitch, not even full sentences, just keywords.
Okay. Now that you say that, I'm just going to get bombarded.
I know. I'm not saying everyone listening, do not do that. It was just a joke. Okay. Just so we're clear.
I mean, at the end of the day, like those are good pitches that I probably should have looked at the first time anyway, and not be kind of like, crap. Yeah.
Okay, Scott, I have a little fill in the blank for us to play with here. So let me tee you up the phrase and you can fill it in. My favorite sources always
are easygoing, not people who are demanding that a story is written or a story is written one way, or that, access is conditional on something,
What? Is that really happening?
Not most people, but,
I was going to say.
I've had bad experiences. I think sometimes people can assume that if they pitch a story, it's going to come out a certain way, which is not the case. That being said, I try to be upfront with like how I'm approaching a story. So there aren't surprises.
Good.
Today's interview will continue after this brief message brought to you by OnePitch. Are you curious to see the unique ways OnePitch helps PR professionals and marketers pitch journalists? Head to onepitch.co to learn about our new OnePitch score and see how easy it is to find the right journalist to pitch your news to. Sign up for your free account today. Now, back to today's episode.
The most annoying source always.
People who will follow up like 6 or 7 times on a pitch that like instead of following up, it's like following up is fine. And, everyone does that and they should to an extent. But if it's like something that they could have just Googled the author, the outlet, instead of making those follow-ups and seeing, okay, I've never written about, carbon offsets, maybe the 6th follow-up is not going to elicit a yes.
It's not. And by the way, are those like follow-ups? So they're like just following up.
I've been on the freelance end of it. So I've sent a lot of just following up emails to editors myself. So like no fault for doing that. Sometimes you just need to be on the top of that inbox, especially if you think whatever you pitched is really good or it's really relevant to that person. But I think sometimes there's like in Gmail, like a 5 next to that person's name, and it's just them responding 5 times with the same pitch that is completely, about, I don't know, not the internet or not social media. It's like, how many hardcore, criminal justice stories am I doing? Not that that's what it is, but like, something that's just not in my coverage wheel.
Well, next phrase here, you can follow up with me if
you really think it's a great story.
Yeah, basically. How about you'll get a response from me if
it's a great story. I mean, you'll get a response from me if you actually are, whatever you're selling or promoting is interesting, and not all things that are being pitched are interesting, or not all people that are being pitched are relevant or appropriate to comment on things. I get a lot of pitches for one CEO to talk about another company. It's like,
what's
Facebook
that?
Just announced this. Have my CEO, this guy who has nothing to do with Facebook, to talk about it. It's like, maybe there's, maybe if you're talking about Apple's App Store and you're a developer or the CEO of a major development company, mobile developer, and that's relevant. That's a CEO that's qualified to talk about another company. But the kind of horizontal commenting on things is a little weird, So, and I get a lot of that.
A lot? Oh.
Yeah, I got a lot
kind
of
of embarrassing.
Especially in my last job, it was a little bit more structured. I was covering social media companies. For Adweek, I covered Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and kind of these set companies all the time. I covered their business. And there was a lot of people that wanted to talk about that in the press, but they weren't anything relevant to them. They weren't marketing. They weren't active on TikTok. They weren't, it just was kind of irrelevant.
Okay. Oh boy. It would be a huge help if sources
came and told me all their juicy secrets all the time.
Oh, yes. By the way, do you get those? Do you get like emails that come out of the blue and they're like, hey, I got a pitch or I got a scoop. You want it?
Every once in a while.
Do you get excited?
Excited, skeptical. Usually those people are going to like the New York Times, and it's just like, I'm not at a publication where we are breaking a ton of stories, and that's kind of not, we're at more of like a magazine analytical kind of place, and that's great. And I think that there are certainly stories that we break or can break, but it's not kind of the express reason why we do journalism or the way that we do journalism. And I think understanding kind of different outlets and I mean, for sure, please tell me all of your juicy secrets. And, I would love the scoop that you have. But I think, and this is a different, conversation than PR people. But, I think understanding like what different outlets do and why they do it is really, it can be hard. It can be opaque, but it's really important.
The best compliment I received about my work was,
This is well written.
oh, that's nice.
I take my writing very seriously and the way I write very seriously. And that's kind of why I like journalism and do what I do. I love reporting and I love interviewing people, and those are great parts of the job too. But what I pride myself on is actually the written word and like how a story is told.
Yeah.
And not every story is a, 3,000 word, florid feature. But if someone compliments the way I write or the way I phrase something or explain something, that's kind of the best compliment I can get.
Mm-hmm. My favorite stories to write are
in depth.
Meaty.
I do like writing long stories and kind of being able to talk to a lot of different people who intersect with a certain theme. And it's not every day that I get to write features, but when I do, I love that. And I love kind of finding a cross section of people who can all kind of have different experiences around a central topic. And that's just a great way to like tell a story and inform people about something.
Mm-hmm. My favorite hobby is,
I guess work is the wrong answer.
God, I bet if you ask, man, that just sounds like a good poll for like the Wall Street Journal to say, like, when asked what their favorite hobby is, people said work, 72%. Wow.
No,
Isn't that sad? Okay, tell us.
Not that.
Yeah, real hobby.
Hobbies. I love watching baseball. I'm a big Yankees fan.
Oh, okay. Are they winning?
They are doing okay. They were not doing okay, and then they were doing okay.
Okay.
They should make the playoffs.
All right.
I love watching baseball. I took up the guitar during the pandemic.
Nice.
And love music. And I love drinking coffee and finding new coffee spots. And I just moved. And so I am enjoying figuring out where the best coffee spots are.
I love that. That's one of my favorite things, going to a new city. You're like, okay, here are the top 5 according to Google. I must investigate every day for the next 5 days. Yes, I love it. And when you find the one, it's nothing like finding the one.
I just moved like right next to a fantastic coffee shop and was there right before we recorded this podcast, and it just makes my heart flutter. The honor of paying too much money for coffee.
It is critical for me, Scott. I will not book a hotel unless I have looked and decided that it is in a proximity of a very well-regarded coffee place. I need to be able to walk there. Honestly, it's essential. I do it because for me, it's like, that's a daily thing I do. I love that. I enjoy it so much and I must have it. So yes, I look at the coffee shop situation before booking.
When I was less so now, but I used to be a big coffee shop worker, especially before the pandemic. And I love the noise and the bustle of a coffee shop and the people and the things that you overhear. And it's just great. It's just great. Everything about it's great.
Do you ever put the ambient noise that's the coffee shop one?
I do.
Me too.
I do. There's like a good YouTube link that I've used before.
I think I've used the same one.
It's like jazz and like coffee chatter. Yeah. I've done that.
Oh God.
It's good for like a rainy day or when I have fun. I spend a lot of the day on calls, so I can't always
be in coffee can't put it on. I know.
So it's good when like I can't get out of the house, especially now. So I think we're kindred spirits in this.
We are. Wow. Okay. We got a few more fill in the blanks here. This is a seasonal one because we're taping this almost in the fall. My favorite fall recipe or food is?
Ooh, I love apple cider and apple cider donuts and any sort of apple pie. I love that.
I love apple with cinnamon.
Yeah, definitely that over the whole pumpkin spice thing. So I like pumpkin pie.
Yeah. Okay. Me too. I like because it's subtle. It's very filling too.
I love it.
It almost seems like it could be like a good side, like a sweet potato thing, except if you took all the sugar out. Anyway, okay. My best Halloween costume was or is?
I don't know. I don't think I have a good answer for you.
Okay.
I think I was a pretty elaborate alien in the 3rd grade, face paint and stuff, and my mom got pretty into it.
Okay.
So,
I like it.
But I don't think I've had like good adult Halloween costumes.
This could be the year, Scott.
It could be the year.
Why not? Okay, let's get into one of my favorite parts because I get so much out of it and I start to buy all the things. What are you reading, listening to, watching? Frankly, we'll take anything that is consuming of stories. What you got?
I'm reading, I kind of alternate between Vonnegut books. So I'm reading Jailbird by Kurt Vonnegut, which is pretty good.
Okay.
Not my favorite so far, but it's interesting. A little political. I used to live in DC, and there's a lot of, it's very DC.
Okay.
For
I like some DC. Okay.
And I listen to the Long Form podcast a lot, which is a great interview series with journalists and kind of about their craft and a lot of like magazine writers.
I like it.
He hosts that, and that's fantastic.
I like it.
And yeah, that's what I'm consuming a lot of. I've been listening to a lot of Peter Kafka's media podcast, the Rico.
Yeah.
He does a really good job with that.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Sorry, these are all like insidery media things, but I love it. I think that's the audience.
That's what we're talking about here. I like it. What do you think the future of journalism looks like?
Oh man, I'd be rich if I knew that.
I know, seriously.
That's usually a question I ask other people. And I spent a lot of years writing about media, and I still write about media in just a different way.
Yeah, the internet.
Yeah, I think that we still haven't found a good way to support local news, and that's probably the most pressing civic problem that we have, or one of the most. I think that print is going to become a luxury item, or has already become a luxury item. I think that the subscription economy is a little bit overflowing, though you should subscribe. You should become a Quartz member because we do really cool, interesting stuff that you can't find elsewhere. But I think that there are so many things that people are subscribing to just in media in general, or in retail, or in entertainment. And I just don't know if there's a limit to that. And I hope that there isn't. But I think we also need some good free ad-supported media as well.
Yeah. This has come up a handful of times. People have been talking about the subscription overload. And, if you wanted, you could truly spend $170 a month just on all the Substacks, all the subscriptions, all the monthly things. Because when you add it all up, now then there's a question of bandwidth, like how much bandwidth do you have to actually read and consume all that stuff? But seriously, so I don't know. And I don't know if we've hit the apex of that or who's going to bundle it up like cable service, but
yeah, interesting
to see.
I think it's important to still watch the streaming services first, because like that is the ultimate unbundling and kind of, I mean, but again, like the economics of it, you're paying probably more for, if you have all the major streaming services, than your cable bundle, and you get big libraries, but there isn't great linear options. And you add that with a couple Substacks or a magazine subscription or a newspaper subscription. Maybe you have a subscription box of something as well, and it's just like a lot of recurring revenue, which is great on the business side if you can get it. But for consumers, if the economy goes south or the market tanks or something, I really think that's the first thing to go.
Yeah, agreed. Well, Scott, we have come to the Mad Lib part, which I do love. Sometimes they are shockingly accurate. Sometimes they are just silly. But we will see what we get today, if that sounds good.
Sounds good. Love a Mad Lib.
Me too. Okay, first thing, an emotion.
Just name an emotion?
Yeah. What you got?
Happiness. I think that's
happy. Okay.
Happy. Okay. All right.
So happy.
We're Mad Libbing.
That's great.
Okay.
An adjective.
Vivacious.
Another adjective.
Mysterious.
Serious. Perfect. Gonna be good already, I can tell. A greeting of any sort.
Why, hello there.
A verb.
Hopscotch.
Hopscotch.
As in
yeah.
hopscotch.
Yes.
That's a noun. A verb
Haven't done.
noun.
Yeah, that works. That works. Totally. Haven't done that in.
I'm trying to be eccentric.
I love it. A noun.
Autumn.
Okay. And then an adjective.
Journalistic.
Okay. It's a good one. Then a cringeworthy PR term or phrase.
Oh, thought leadership.
Oh, yes. A part of a pitch.
Like what?
Like subject line, close.
The latest
asset folder. Yeah, I don't know.
The latest NFT drop.
Oh boy. Length of time.
Half hour.
Name of a real person, preferably alive.
Oprah Winfrey.
Hell yeah.
Her Majesty.
And then, yes, agreed. Our royalty. And an emotion, lastly.
Gotta have a good one. I don't know. There's a lot of pressure. I don't know. Let's go with the opposite of happy.
Okay.
Sadness.
Sad? Okay, sad. All right. We could do better than sad. Come on. That's cliche. Despondence. Okay, great. Okay, here we go. This is the Mad Lib. Scott. When I think of the future of journalism, I feel happy. The pitches I receive have gone from vivacious to mysterious. If I receive a pitch that starts with, "Why, hello there," I hopscotch. When I write stories on autumn, I get journalistic. My favorite pitches include thought leadership and the latest NFT drops. I normally take around half an hour to respond to my emails, but if it's Oprah Winfrey, I will respond immediately. If you do get a response back from me, you should know that I'm very despondent for you.
The Oprah part is accurate.
That is damn accurate, straight up.
Everything else is a complete lie. But
yes,
if Miss Winfrey wants to email me, she'll get a response. Actually, you know what? I will assume it's spam. I will probably.
Right? Wouldn't you? You would. You know what? I wonder how. Okay, so if you are Oprah, how do you actually? I mean, I guess she has people that like call people. Like you probably get a phone call.
Or
right?
you either get a phone call like it's the president and you're like, Oprah's about to call you. Or Oprah just cold calls you. I don't know.
I feel
like some people like that like to just cold call.
I would think they would say, like, the handler would come on and say, "Oh, Scott, I have Oprah Winfrey on the line," and you'd go, "Oh my god," and then they'd say, that. "Yeah, okay," and then they'd say, "Oprah's here," and then boom, then it like transfers in. I think that's how fancy people do it.
I've had interviews where I didn't know if I got the interview or not, and then I just got a call and been like, "Mr. So-and-so is on the phone for you."
Oh my god! Wow. Well, Scott, thank you so much for doing all the things today, our podcast and all our little goodies that'll be shown around the web here soon on pitches and whatnot. Thank you. And I hope you enjoy getting in the rabbit hole more about whatever the hell is happening on the internet.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's a great place. Only good things.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Beck.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Coffee with the Journalist featuring Scott Nover from Quartz. If you enjoy listening to our show, make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. And if you have a moment, please leave us a review to share your thoughts about the show and today's guest. To learn more about the latest tools on OnePitch and to subscribe to our weekly podcast newsletter, head to our website at onepitch.co. We'll see you all next week with a brand new guest and even more insights about the journalists you want to learn more about. Until then, start great stories.